a little bit about the resistance and challenges of putting out, I mean, especially as someone in media studies, of putting out a film like this that's where the content is particularly, well, I guess in the setting in America can be viewed as controversial. Like, and so what specifically, what did the resistance look like, and what were some of the political pressures that hit you as a filmmaker?
Well, you know, the latest episode is what we are doing here tonight. Our attempt to resist the silencing of the film by the city of West Hollywood, because they canceled the screening. First, they postponed it from November 16 to December 12, and then, you know, now it's indefinite. Yeah. So that represents the. But if I want to go back and talk about, you know, the whole issue, of course, you have a very well-funded, very strong lobby in the United States that has branches, arms, that extend everywhere. And for me personally, I have been blacklisted on several of those arms, like the one that was used in the case of West Hollywood, this Canary Mission. And so I have a lot of lies about me and unsubstantiated, you know, charges against me. But not only me, but basically thousands of faculty and students who somehow, in some cases actually there are faculty who probably did nothing except sign a petition, sign maybe the BDS call for action or something like that. And that was enough for them to be blacklisted. Some of them don't even like research or study or teach on issues of Palestine. And you know, we have been, the first thing that happened is we immediately were, the film was identified as anti-Semitic, as anti-Israel, etc. Although we did our due diligence as scholars to produce a scholarly narrative to the best of what we could, you know, with the tools we had as an independent film. But still, of course, because this is a narrative that is not allowed in the United States. Right. I mean, we had to dump, probably this audience is a little bit more sophisticated than other audiences I had in terms of their knowledge about the conflict. But we had to dumb it down a little bit so people could understand a very complicated narrative. Because the first motivation was the fact that in the United States, the conflict is presented as thousands of years old, and those people have been just crazy fighting each other. And it's a religious conflict and all of these, you know, myths that people believe about it, which is of course not true, because it's a very contemporary extension to the European colonial projects in the Arab world and the Muslim world, etc. So it was a very, very complicated task to try to deconstruct that and present the alternative narrative that no, it's not, it's actually a contemporary kind of conflict that was imported from Europe and imposed on the Palestinian indigenous population with all its three religions. That's why we felt like we also had to talk about the indigenous Jewish population in Palestine that still actually exists until today, although very, very tiny minority in the city of Nablus still exists. So that narrative is not allowed, full stop. It doesn't matter if you followed, you know, a scholarly approach, if you were fair, if you talked to Israel, it doesn't matter. You know, at the end of the day, they don't want you to talk about this. So there was a very nasty article in something called Jihad Watch that came out, the first screening in DC, and this was like a year and a half ago. We released the film in the spring of 2017. I'm so happy that it didn't get a lot of attention, and I didn't spread it, and you know, we just totally ignored it because it was all guilt by association. There was no conversation or discussion of the film itself or the facts or refuting anything in it. It was just this person knows that person, and so they are anti-Semitic. For me, it was easier, of course, to attack than Andy, because all they had to do is she's originally Palestinian, etc. So a lot of racism, a lot of Orientalist discourse, you know, even in attacking the film. Then we have the usual people who try either to cancel the film or show up, you know, to the screening, etc. I think the most vicious attack, which was actually worse than was tolerated, but that shows you when people want to stand up for the right of speech, you know, the freedom of speech, happened at my campus actually, Cal State San Bernardino. We have two campuses. We have the San Bernardino campus, and then we have Palm Desert satellite campus. So we did two screenings, and these were big screenings because the university, was part of, giving me the funds to do some of the research. So the San Bernardino one went well. The Palm Desert one, there is a specific, constituency in Palm Desert of many conservative people with very Zionist ideas. And so they all bombarded the university asking for canceling the film. It wasn't only one rabbi like the case of West Hollywood. It was like, a lot of people from different, maybe from conservative, older, white Americans basically. And they kept on asking for the same thing. The university was proud, of course, and said, no, we can't. Then they put a lot of pressure to have the other, story, etc. And the university said, no, we will do whatever, you are welcome to propose, events, etc. And eventually it was very good, because what happened is, in an attempt to make it a failure, they RSVP'd all the seats, 200 seats in a big auditorium, a theater. And it was a very hostile audience, so I went, and Andy went with me. We did the Q&A like we're doing now. But honestly, I thought it was very successful because I wanted those people to come and watch the film. This is the problem. They always attack it without seeing it, without knowing what it's about, without knowing me or knowing, you know what I mean? So at the discussion, we didn't really have a lot of pushback or a lot. The APAC guy came to the screening, and 5 minutes before the screening, I heard him shouting back and forth with the dean of the campus, trying still to cancel the last minute, and quoting the Jihad Watch article. And then the dean said, have you seen the film? He said, no. And she said, please sit down and see it, like, give it a chance. Like, how can you discuss this with me when you haven't seen the film? And she was frustrated, I was frustrated, and she came to me and said, I'm so sorry, Ahlam, it's going to be a very hostile audience. And I was like, that's fine, I'll answer any questions. But amazingly, we had a standing ovation at the end. Wow. From a totally hostile, or 200 people who RSVP'd like weeks before, and it was a free, screening, but they had to RSVP. And this is the problem, they never give you the chance to sit down and watch the film and then judge it. They just reject it absolutely, because I think that, again, that they don't want the story to be here. Full stop, regardless. So, sorry, that was a long answer.